Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is the fourth part in me explaining what is Sanchido. And today we're going to talk about the 27 points of resistance. 27 points where our opponent can resist our techniques and make it more difficult for us. So many times you hear people say, oh, what if the opponent is resisting? What can I do? But what is resisting? What is he doing? And in the basics, there are three different ways he can resist. He can either go forward, backward, or he can tense up, or a combination of those three. So what if you need to realize, what is he doing? Is he just tensing up when you try to do something? Is he trying to stop you with a punch or a push? Or is he trying to pull away to avoid your technique? So that's number one. You can't just say, hey, he's resisting, it doesn't work. You need to realize, okay, what kind of resisting is he doing? One of these three. And he can resist before, during, or after when you are doing your techniques. And he can resist in three heights: high, middle, and low. And if you time that up, you say, okay, he can resist in three different ways, in three different heights, and before, during, and after in the technique. If you time that up, that gives 27. So this is 27 points that your opponent can try to make it harder for you to do your technique in some way. Either try to punch you, or pull away, or just resist, just tensing up to make it harder for you to do your technique. And of course, in the beginning, you don't start training with 27 combinations. There is a natural way that once you start training your basic technique, people, at least beginners, also sometimes advanced, they will ask, what if I resist here? Or, okay, I will say, what do you mean resist? What do you do? Do you pull, do you push, or do you tense? And he will say, what if I tense here? Okay, if he tense, you go around. If he pulls, you go with it and into his center. And if he pushes forward, make sure he doesn't capture your center and you can pull him. And in the beginning, you make it easy for your opponent or your training partner so that you can actually do the techniques. Over time, you can do it more difficult because you can push forward and then pull back and tense. Like if you just want to push him away, it actually goes forward, then goes back, and now he's just tensing. So if I wanted to, let's say, go with the first one, he pushes, okay, he's not supposed to capture my center, and I want to pull. But because he's already pushing and going backwards, then I also have to be able to change. So I avoid the center, I try to pull him, but all of a sudden he's pushing back. If he's pulling back, I need to go with it. And now he's tensing up, I need to go around it. So your techniques cannot be too great. If they're too big motions, you can't change when the opponent is changing. But for the basics, it would be, okay, I try to do a technique and he will push forward to try to stop me doing my technique. And I will use that pushing forward to pull him. Or he could try to run away when I try to do something. Then I will follow up and go forward into his center. Or the third one, he could just tense up. I would go around the tension and go into his center. Or go around the tension and pull him, it doesn't matter. So that is how we get to the 27 points. In the beginning, you only need to worry about three things. Is he pulling? Is he pushing? Or is he tensing? And then you have to know, okay, if he's tensing, go around. He's not moving. If he's just tensing, he's not moving. So go around. If he pushes forward, okay, make sure he doesn't capture your center and go with it, pull him. If he goes back, okay, follow forward and attack his center. But over time, it's a really good idea to get maximum protection in your techniques to make sure that you get to all 27 points. So you start with closing the distance. Okay, how can he resist in the upper, in the middle, and in the lower? Okay, he can push forward, he can go back, or he can tense to try to interrupt my technique. And he can do the same in the middle of the technique. Let's say I want to do a throw. Okay, he can tense up to try and resist the throw. He can pull me or he can push me in a way that so I loses my balance. So we need to be aware of that during the technique. And also in the end phase of the technique, we also need to be aware of, okay, he can still do resistance. So if you train in this way, it will be very frustrating for your opponent or your partner, because you are always ready for the counter he is able to do. And he's just thinking, I'm gonna resist, now he can't get me. But you are actually already, you are prepared, because this is how we train our techniques. When I go for a technique, yes, I go for it, but I am also prepared for eventualities. How is he resisting? And in 3 heights, and before, during, and after. So that means almost no matter how he is resisting, you are ready, because you know this is the theory that we are working with. So that is very frustrating. Just when you think, I won, you didn't win, because you just jump into another technique. And of course, you might get lucky and resist number 2, but number 3, it's going to be very hard. In most cases, you can resist 1, 2, but if the training partner can keep on going, if he push forward, let's say he's pushing forward and I want to pull him, and now he pulls back and I want to go into his center, and now he's resisting so I can't get into his center. Now I make a circle and get around it. Number 3 is going to be very hard for him to defend, or everything above number 3 you can keep on going. If the training partner is also very trained in this way, you can go on maybe to 6 or 7 or something. But at some point, if one person is able to keep going, changing as the opponent or partner is changing, at some point it's going to be very difficult. For beginners and intermediate 1 and 2, okay, they can take it. If you go to number 3 and above, it's going to be very hard for them to do something about, because they will be too late, simply. But of course, with training, everything is possible. You can go on for quite some time. So if you have on the same level, it can go on for quite some time. And of course, if the opponent is pulling and pushing at the same time, it becomes even more difficult. But still, it's the same. You just pick one of them and go with that, and make sure he doesn't catch the other one at the same time. It's a little bit more complicated, and I would have to explain the geometry of Sanchido to get into how do you deal with that. And I will do that in another video where I will talk about the geometry. So that is it. The most important thing is the opponent is not just resisting. How is he resisting? That is the important thing, so that we can move on to doing something about it. You can't just say, oh, he's resisting, it doesn't work. Well, of course he's resisting. If you are fighting, he's resisting in some way. That's natural. You can't just be lucky and get the first one. Maybe you're lucky and getting the first technique. Yeah, that's super. But people quite quickly, they will begin to resist. Going just of saying, oh, he's resisting, what to do? Okay, how is he resisting? Is he going forward? Is he going backward? Or is he tensing? So in reality, you only need to be aware of these 3 things. If it happens before, during, or after, or in what height, that doesn't matter. The answer is the same. Go with the force when he's pulling or pushing, and go around it if he's tensing. But for training purposes, it's a good idea over time to train all 27 ways of resisting, because it makes you very sharp in your technique and you're prepared for everything when you train it like that. So that is it for today. Have a nice day to all of you, and see you in the next video.